Welcome back to the Trails of Steel History podcast. If you guys want to get the full podcast, you can go on our Patreon, which is going to be in the link description below, as well as the comment section. This time, we're going to go to China. So I was originally about to talk about Khalid Walid, right? We were planning on this. But there's so much to get on him. I want to really focus on everything we can get about Khalid, and it's going to take a while. So we're going to do that next week. And this week I'm very busy with other stuff, with combat sports, and such. But we're going to go to feudal China, late 2nd century AD. And this is a popular period, amongst popular media, right? Movies, video games, comic books, novels, a lot of stuff was created on this time period of the Han Dynasty and the Three Kingdoms period, which is kind of not overlapped, but they come after each other, right? The Three Kingdoms comes after that. And specifically, the main man that everybody knows about is Lu Bu. And I'm interested in this because I was a big fan of the games when I was young. I used to play those a lot. And historically, it's very, very different. So the main thing that people know about Lu Bu, who was one of the mightiest warriors during this entire period, and one of the greatest, typically people say one of the greatest warriors in Chinese history. He was mostly known for the Battle of Hulao Gate. That was his big thing. That was a shining moment that everybody knows about him. He dueled 10 generals, defeated all of them one after the other, eventually fought the sworn three brothers, Guan Yu, Liu Bei, and Zheng Fei. But the thing is, historically, none of this happened. None of that happened. Hulao Gate was not a thing back then. The place is real, but the battle never happened there. The Battle of Si Shui Gate never happened there. A lot of the battles that Lu Bu participated in was very, very different than what popular media portrays. And not only that, but some of the other generals at the time, his relationship with them was quite different. But some of them were actually accurate, with Cao Cao and Liu Bei and some of these other warlords and such. But he was still revered. No, not revered, but he was still known, throughout the whole time period. They would have the quote about Lu Bu saying, "Among men is Lu Bu. Among steeds is the red hare," which is his horse. They also call him the Flying General. And why do they call him the Flying General?
They called him the Flying General because how fast he flew into battle on top of the red hare, and it was like a glorious sight to see. So they called him the Flying General because he flew into battle.
Yeah, it looked like he was flying. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, he was very quick into battle.
And also, there were many times where he would flee, he would retreat on the horse, and nobody was able to catch him, which is actually kind of unfair how he found that horse.
So it's interesting. You got the Flying General and then the Fleeing General.
Yeah, and he actually did that quite a bit. He actually retreated quite a bit during battles because he was a lot better at dueling. He was a lot better as a muscle rather than leading men. And this is going to be shown throughout his entire history. And for anybody that wants to read into this stuff themselves, not just about Lu Bu, but everybody else involved, because it's such an interesting time period with so many different historical figures. I would recommend to read The Record of the Three Kingdoms, which was written in the 3rd century. So it was actually during the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was written during that time. And there was the Book of the Late Han, which was written in the 5th century. That's also a good one as well. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms is not accurate, right? The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, there's a lot of fiction in it. It was written in the 1400s.
Yep.
And I think you told me it was also written the 11th century or something.
Yeah, there's 2 different versions of it. Yep.
Yeah, and the Romance of the Three Kingdoms are not accurate historically. So I just wanted to point that out if you guys want to read it yourselves. And during this time, it's feudal China, again, late 2nd century AD. There was also another quote about Lu Bu that you mentioned earlier.
So there's this quote that relates to Lu Bu and also the whole entire Three Kingdoms period as a whole. And I think not only does it relate to the Three Kingdoms period, it literally relates to all of humanity, all of human history, literally of any time, very ancient or even very modern till today. And the quote goes like this: "The empire long divided must unite, and long united must divide. Thus has it always been." And that perfectly describes not only the Three Kingdoms period, but all of human history.
Yeah. And specifically about the Three Kingdoms period. I mean, this was a warring time, with a ton of conflict, a ton of casualties. In fact, from the Han Dynasty to the end of the Three Kingdoms period, 40 million people died. And they only had a population of roughly 60 million, or 50 to 60 million, they say. Can you imagine?
You're basically wiping out almost a whole country. If you really think about, give or take, at the peak of the Han Dynasty, it was 50 million recorded population at the peak. But that was two to 3 centuries prior to the Three Kingdoms period.
Yes, and this is the third most casualties in human history involving like wars and stuff that rivals World War I that came almost 1900 years later.
And the interesting thing is this era is very heavily glorified in modern media today because obviously through the romance of the Three Kingdoms, video games, comics, mangas, things like that. Yeah. Just so everybody knows, this was a very, very bloody, nasty period.
Oh, it was a horrible time to live. Like,
people were constantly, both high-ranking, it didn't matter if you were the highest tier person or the low tier, it didn't matter, you struggled, and every day was a desperate, basically, struggle.
Oh, you were trying to survive every single day. Not only from getting attacked from the neighboring territory, right? Whoever warlord is there, because there's a million warlords all over China. They're always at conflicts with each other, especially after the empire fell. Not only from that, but also the droughts, the locusts, the bugs killing your crops and stuff. There was even a point in time that I'm going to mention later. The people had to resort to cannibalism in order to survive. Like, can you just imagine? Like, you're just trying to live your day, and you're a farmer. Your crops are gone. You don't have food for months, even. And there's war going on in your home, and you got to survive somehow.
And that's the crazy thing. I mean, even it's bad enough during the warm winter or during the warm weather seasons when they're able to grow their crops, they're unable because of locust invasions and things like that. Then when the cold seasons come around, they have to resort to eating each other.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, and then you got like neighboring territories entering yours, and these guys would always like pursue and attack each other with so much men. Even like we're going to talk about the Yellow Turban Rebellion, which is a historical period in Chinese history where there was 2 million rebels going after the emperor.
And the interesting about this period, just so everybody knows, this took place between the late 2nd century and it covered literally the entire 3rd century, the whole 100 years of the 3rd century. So from basically you're looking from the 180s AD all the way to 300 AD when the Jin finally conquer over the 3 empires.
Yeah.
And even they end up splitting apart later. But just so everybody knows, this is the end of the Han Dynasty. It's already seen its best days. It's no longer in its prime. It's on its way out.
Yes. And specifically here, we're going to be talking about Lu Bu, and this all of his entire life was before the 3rd century. So Lu Bu, nobody knows when he was born. We don't know how old he was, but we do know that he died at 199 AD. Not much is known about his early childhood. Not much is known about how he was brought up. Not much is known about his family. But we do know that he was, I would guess, an orphan. Because
possibly
an orphan, because what happens is he's recruited by this warlord and politician named Ding Yuan, and he takes him in. Some records say that he took him in as like a foster father, or he was a foster father to Lu Bu. And the reason why Ding Yuan specifically sought out Lu Bu was because of Lu Bu's martial arts prowess, which not only is with hand to hand, but with weapons and such. He was very good with the halberd, the spear. He was extremely good at archery, and very good on horseback as well. Ding Yuan was so close to Lu Bu, he would always keep him close, almost like a bodyguard, and would treat him very well. Even if it wasn't his real son, he definitely treated him as a son. At this time, there was many rebellions, many coups against the emperor, and the emperor at this time, his name was Emperor Ling, and he would always reside in his royal palace in this capital city called Luoyang.
And just to touch up on the emperor situation real quick now that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
The emperor at this point during the Han Dynasty, has literally no power. He's just a face. He's a figurehead. The real power is the guy who's in charge of the military. And it's very similar to like Japan, like the shogun. They say the emperor, but the shogun was the guy in power. And that's what you're seeing here in the Three Kingdoms period. The emperor holds no power.
Yes, and there was also an empress, right? There's also an empress who also didn't hold any power. So this whole family is just kind of there.
Just for looks, basically.
Yeah, they're just there to be rich and live in this giant palace in this royal city. And there's a lot of guards all around. They have some of the best elite soldiers guarding this capital city.
It's one of the few times in Chinese history where the imperial seal and the mandate of heaven have very little effect.
Yeah, and what is the imperial seal? Because it's very different than any other country.
Basically, the imperial seal, or as it's factually known as the imperial seal of heirloom, it's basically once you've acquired this, you basically claim divine lineage, and this basically makes you emperor in a nutshell.
It's kind of like a stat. I don't know if it's a statue.
It's like a handheld. It's like it fits in the palm of your hand. It's a little green object. I'm not sure what exact. I think it's made out of jade or emerald. I could be wrong, But this basically started way back in the day, way before the Han Dynasty, I believe during pre-dynastic China, like way back when they used to talk about the Yellow Emperor, like 2,000 years before, BC. And they would say, if you obtain the imperial seal, you become emperor, basically.
Isn't that crazy? These people believe if I just grab this rock, I'm the new emperor of China.
Yeah, you have divine lineage.
Yeah, that's insane. So the Emperor Ling, he has this thing. And he is the 12th emperor and the last emperor of the Eastern Han Dynasty. But there's a lot of corruption. So as you know, with a figurehead like this, who doesn't have that much power, there's going to be a lot of corruption. And the political groups around the emperor are the ones that are really trying to hold power. They're really trying to grab at this guy, use him in any which way they can.
Yeah, the central government in China during this late Han period is extremely, extremely weak.
Yes. And specifically, the group that is trying to pull strings, they're called the 10 Attendants, or they're also called the 10 Eunuchs. And yes, they're eunuchs, which castrated men who also would shave their faces to not have any facial hair so they could be distinguished in public. Like everybody knows who we are. We're high political powers, political men who hold a lot of power in the government. And there were actually 12. So even though they call themselves the 10 eunuchs, there was actually 12 of them, which is kind of strange.
You imagine that being a eunuch, and it's the same thing as the Western eunuchs. Obviously, they were castrated. Of course, that would have been a horrible position to take. There was no anesthesia back in the day.
Imagine being castrated back then would be insane. And the thing is, like, in Western history, like Europe, for example, the eunuchs really didn't have power.
No, a eunuch kind of, if you
like
really
slave,
look at it,
right?
Basically a slave to politicians.
Servant,
And it was just a really bad position.
But in the Han Dynasty, these eunuchs were powerful for some reason. And I don't exactly know why that was. But yeah, they held high political power. They gained much favor from the emperor. And these eunuchs, they corroborated with this sorcerer. So there was this guy named Zheng Jiao, which is not his real name, but that's what everybody knows him as. He's not a real sorcerer, but people back then believed he was a sorcerer. He also practiced Taoism, which Taoism is religion.
Yeah, Taoism is like an idea, I guess, and it was created by Lao Tzu in the 6th century BC. During the same time, obviously, as Confucius and Sun Tzu.
Yeah, and so Zheng Jiao was practicing Taoism. People believed he was able to do actual magic. And he led what became the infamous Yellow Turban Rebellion. In every popular media about the Han Dynasty and the Three Kingdoms, it always begins with the Yellow Turban Rebellion. It was such a notable rebellion of 2 million people against the emperor, often shown in movies, books, video games, etc. 2 million people rebelled, which is absolutely insane. One of the biggest rebellions in Chinese history.
That is enormous. Just 2 million people coming at you, and you're the government. It's like, what do you do with so many people coming at your throat?
And the eunuchs in the palace, or in the capital, should I say, are corroborating with this guy, with the leader, which is crazy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Then Emperor Ling dies, and he died to unknown reasons, but it's often believed that he died to illness. And soon after, you already know who's moving into power. You already know who's going to try to, pull some strings here and get the ultimate power in China. And that group is the 10 eunuchs. Emperor Ling's son, Liu Bian, becomes the new emperor, designated by this man named He Jin. Now, He Jin's very important. He Jin is that guy who actually has power, right? He's the Grand Marshal. He's the General in Chief. He is the guy who holds the military power under the empire. He's the one that's right under Emperor Ling. But because Emperor Ling died, He Jin becomes the regent, and therefore is the most powerful man in China at the time, until the next emperor is designated, which he makes Liu Bian. Very quickly he does it too.
And just to make it clear, whenever this happens, whenever, for example, an emperor or a king in any time period or situation, whenever an emperor or king died, usually, even when they were alive, it was usually the supreme commander of the military that usually held power. Anybody that had control of the violent situation of anything usually held most power.
That is very true. Yeah, that is very true. And at this time, the 10 eunuchs started to latch on to the empress. They started to control her, started to whisper in her ear about doing certain things and such. He Jin started to kind of hear about this. He started to get very suspicious about the 10 eunuchs. And there seems to be a bit of a conflict between the actual General-in-Chief Grand Marshal He Jin and these 10 eunuch politicians. And what happened was, He Jin's general, or one of the generals, His name was Yuan Shao. Yuan Shao is going to be a very important name throughout this entire thing. So his general Yuan Shao, who's another warlord, urged He-Jin to get proactive about this whole thing with the 10 eunuchs. He cannot allow this to happen. And you're going to see something about Yuan Shao is that he's very aggressive with everything. Every time he wants to act in any which way, he was very aggressive, and he would advance as quickly as possible. So he could try to get He-Jin to do the same. But then there's the young Cao Cao. Now, a lot of people call him Cao Cao, but I'm going to call him Cao Cao. Cao Cao was I guess an officer of some sort under Yuan Shao.
Yeah, he didn't hold a very high position at this specific time during the Yellow Turban Rebellion, but he was extremely ambitious.
Yes. So Cao Cao advised He-Jin to only target the eunuch leaders if he is going to get proactive about this, if he's going to do something about this issue, and not to advance upon Liu Yang, as this will expose their plans. They're trying to keep this hidden because the eunuchs are in the palace right now. They're not only in the capital, they're in the royal palace with the empress and the emperor's sons.
So the interesting thing about Cao Cao, now that you mentioned him, is it's very important to understand the kind of personality Cao Cao is, because he has this almost this selfish ego type of view of himself as this hero that's right to clear the land of all its troubles and the people. But you'll end up seeing later on that he has a very, very I would say evil, selfish way of trying to do things, and this is where the whole legend of Cao Cao starts.
Yeah, Cao Cao does become, you can even argue, the most important historical figure during the Three Kingdoms period.
Arguably, yes.
Yeah, and he clashes many times with Yuan Shao much later after all of this. But He-Jin, with the two advisories, or with the two advices that he gets from Cao Cao and then from Yuan Shao, he actually listened to the more respected Yuan Shao, obviously, right? As the eunuchs are getting much more power. And He-Jin then commanded Ding Yuan. So remember, Ding Yuan is Lu Bu's foster father. So he gets him on the move now. He tells Ding Yuan and another man, the sleazy, evil warlord Deng Zhuo. He is probably the most evil person during this whole time. He gets both of these two to position on the outskirts of the capital of Luoyang, right? But not to completely surround it, but just to position themselves a little bit out there. Just to put a little bit of pressure on the empress and the eunuchs.
And to better understand the personality of Deng Zhuo, because he's extremely important during this very specific time period. Yeah. He's this guy that he's the definition of just a wicked person. He'll deny you, and then when he's in trouble, help me out. I need your help, please. And then it's like,
and then he backstabs you.
Right after. And this guy is just horrible. I mean, he just gives that word meaning.
In every which way. And once we get to him, because he's going to do something that is so crazy, he takes power over everything. When he does that, you're going to see how twisted this guy actually is when he actually gets full power. So He-Jin then later enters the castle himself to request the execution of the eunuchs. He's talking to the empress, and he's trying to plead with her, like, yo, I got my guys outside of this capital, can we just get rid of these eunuchs? You know what they're trying to do. You know what they're probably going to do, not only to you, but also to the emperor's sons. They're ultimately just trying to get power at the end of the day. And he's also showing that he's not coming after her, only the eunuchs, who are deceiving and scheming during this whole time. But there was a spy in the shadows. There was a spy in the palace that listened to this entire conversation, and he reported it back to the 10 eunuchs. And He-Jin did not know anything about this. So the head eunuch, Zhang Rang, lured He-Jin back into the castle later with a fake summon of a letter. So He-Jin is given a letter from the empress that's signed and sealed. Come to the palace. She has something that she needs to tell him, and he comes again to the castle alone. So they did this twice. So now the eunuch saw, before he came to the castle alone, and then he comes back to the castle alone on this fake summon, and immediately when he comes inside, he gets surprisingly murdered brutally by the eunuchs.
And this is the very interesting part right here, is you're seeing He-Jin had no idea of a spy. He had just speaking as he was speaking. Yep. He's getting spied on. He has no clue. Then he gets his paper saying, hey, He-Jin, come on over to the palace. We got to talk. Yep. He has no idea he's walking into his own death.
Yep. And he died immediately right from there. But good on him that he did designate the new emperor before he died. So the emperor is Liu Bian, who's the former emperor's son. But they call him Emperor Shao, which is very confusing. I have no idea why. He has a whole different name.
Right. They used to do that. There was courtesy names too.
Yeah, it's such a strange thing.
Yeah.
So Emperor Shao is the kid. He's like 12 years old. He really doesn't know anything. He has no idea how to use his power at all. So at this point, the emperor and the grand marshal both died after each other at the hands of the eunuchs, or not the hands of the, but as the eunuchs are trying to grow power in this whole kingdom.
And the interesting thing about that with the whole eunuchs, and now that you can see the state it's very clearly falling apart.
Yeah.
And not only are the warlords fighting for power, now you have the actual the guys who held power in central government. They're trying to fight for power now. So the interesting thing about eunuchs was there was 10 of them, because when in case the central government was to break down, they say, okay, you 10 men can organize everything in case the emperor or whoever's in charge dies or for whatever reason falls apart. Yeah. You 10 men are in charge of bringing order. And then basically, which was unexpected to the Han leaders at the time, was who would have thought 10 eunuchs are going to try to overthrow everybody.
Nobody would ever expected this.
So it actually went completely backwards on them.
Completely. And at this time, Ding Yuan and Lu Bu are not there yet. They're still on their way there. Dong Zhuo's already there. Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu. Yuan Shao's eldest half brother.
Yeah.
It's gonna be quite confusing a little bit in the beginning. There's Yuan Shao and then Yuan Shu. So these guys are all positioned there. Ding Yuan and Lu Bu are still on their way. They're not there yet. But word gets out. He Jin dies, right? And Yuan Shao, and when Yuan Shao and Yuan Shu heard about this, they stormed the capital. They did not take any orders. No one had to ask them anything. They immediately stormed the castle and started killing anyone they thought was a eunuch. And again, the way they can describe, or the way they can see who's a eunuch, who isn't, is by facial hair. So whoever did not have facial hair, they would kill them on sight. And what would happen was, in order to not get killed, men who shaved that day or something, the unfortunate day they shaved,
right?
They had to drop their pants in order to prove they're not castrated. That was the only way they would be able to live from the rage of Yuan Shao and Yuan Shu.
Yeah, they had to prove that they weren't eunuchs.
Crazy. And upon hearing the storm of the imperial castle, the eunuchs quickly acted and kidnapped the 2 children of the emperor, or of the former emperor, and the empress also as hostages. They attempted to flee the castle in panic to not come across the Yuan brothers. Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu was rampaging through the capital to get to the castle, and they would kill anyone on sight that doesn't have facial hair. So they had to be very careful at the time to not run across them, because they also have a lot of men with them. And they say that about 2,000 civilians died, or I think it's 2,000 civilians or 2,000 men died at Luoyang that day. So the eunuchs are fleeing. They're trying to go along the Yellow River, which still exists today, right?
Yes.
Yellow River. And they get intercepted by Dong Zhuo. The evil Dong Zhuo intercepts them with a menacing-looking force. Zhang Rang, who's the leader of the eunuchs, cowardly jumped into the river and drowned himself. The others got killed, and the eunuchs, completely annihilated in Yuan Shao fashion, never wasting time, get straight to the point, and take care of business. Dong Zhuo, who were still at the Yellow River, found the 2 sons of the emperor, and he spoke to them to just see their reaction. So you already know at this time, Dong Zhuo's scheming.
Yeah, he's basically now at this point, he's like the devil in somebody's ear. He's constantly whispering, hey, do this, go here, talk to this person, talk to that person. And Dong Zhuo, like you said, he's scheming his way to power now.
Yep, and immediately when he sees the son, so before he takes them back, he talks to them. He talks to both of them, just to see how they respond to him. So the emperor, at the time, the child emperor, he shows fear to Dong Zhuo. And Dong Zhuo notices this. He sees, he's kind of cowering when he's trying to talk to him. He's not being assertive with his answers like an emperor should. And Dong Zhuo knew right from there, okay, this guy's not fit to be king when he gets older. So he talks to the brother, and the brother shows no fear. The brother is very assertive, very straightforward, and Dong Zhuo likes this. So immediately when he saw the responses, he knew he has to do away with the emperor and make his brother the current emperor. He needed to find a way in order to do this. He saw weakness in Emperor Shao, and he needed to make his brother the new emperor. Dong Zhuo brought the empress and the royal brothers back to the capital. So he gets praise, he gets rewarded for this. Everybody, they view Dong Zhuo in good light, like, oh, he's the savior of the royal family. Very crazy how that happened.
Yep, and that's normally the nature of evil people, is they do a really good deed first. Like, hey, I'm this really good guy. I'm the knight in shining armor. I came and saved this person. I did this for you guys. And then that's when they start. They work behind the shadows is what they do.
Absolutely. And at this point, when Dong Zhuo arrives to the city, Ding Yuan and Lu Bu finally arrive now. So they came after all of this just happened. So they're at the capital Luoyang, and upon Dong Zhuo's arrival, he sees everybody's in a bit of discomfort. None of them are comfortable seeing seeing Dong Zhuo. Dong Zhuo's men are regarded as like menacing. They're battle-hardened soldiers. They're from a province that's known to be battle-hardened. A lot of battles happen in that province as well. And the royal people, people in the capital are gonna be rich and everything. They're not used to seeing people like Dong Zhuo, and he's in the capital, the one who saved the royal family. So they don't like him just off of sight. They know something's wrong about this guy. And Dong Zhuo sees Lu Bu, and he grows interest in him, and he thinks that Lu Bu would perfectly fit in his ranks. So Dong Zhuo starts scheming again. Now he's scheming on multiple angles, right? He wants the emperor to change so he can kind of be a mentor and whisper in his ear and, use him as kind of like a puppet ruler so he can actually have the real power. He's also planning to get on good favors with the empress at the time. And he also wants the mighty warrior like Lu Bu on his side. And in doing so, he also needs to eliminate Lu Bu's foster father, Ding Yuan, to get to Lu Bu and take out an obstacle for his plan to work, since he knows that Ding Yuan will definitely get in his way if he tries to get some kind of high political power. And how specifically does he try to get Lu Bu under him?
Now, there's a story that goes like this. Now, Lu Bu at this point is already building this popularity of himself as this guy of I'm strong, I'm a good warrior, I fight. He's good horseback, good archer. And the thing about this is there's no physical description about Lu Bu, but all they know is that he was a great archer, great on horseback, and he was physically a strong person, and he was good at fighting. Yeah. So Dong Zhuo heard about this. They said, okay, well, if he's this legendary stories I hear about, if this is true, let's put it to the test. Dong Zhuo sends some of his, they say roughly around 5 or 6 officers to go take on Lu Bu. Lu Bu defeats all of them. Not all at once, one after another. Mm-hmm. And then Dong Zhuo says, basically, this is the guy.
Oh, yeah, I found my perfect warrior.
It's not myth, it's reality. Yeah. This is the man. I need him under me. I absolutely need his services.
Yes, and Dong Zhuo starts to talk to Yuan Shao about his plan, which is very interesting. He talks to the guy that would never listen to him, but he didn't know this. So he tells Yuan Shao about his plan to make the brother the new emperor and dispose of the current emperor. But Yuan Shao completely rejected this plan, as was very predictable. Dong Zhuo was angered and saw Yuan Shao as another obstacle that needed to be eliminated, and he was about to order his assassination, but Yuan Shao was so respected that royal officers convinced Dong Zhuo to not target Yuan Shao at all. But this Dong Zhuo's suspicion later are shown to be correct from his perspective. So he had this perspective, obviously, that Yuan Shao needs to be eliminated, right? And this is gonna come back at him, right? This is gonna bite him to not assassinate Yuan Shao from his point of view, right? So like, he's the evil guy, and if he did that, if he took out Yuan Shao, a lot of things would be a lot more smooth sailing later when the whole coalition happens. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So Dong Zhuo then successfully, convinces Lu Bu to defect to his side. And you're gonna know something about Lu Bu. A lot of people can convince him to do stuff. And it's very crazy how easily it is.
Yeah. Just so everybody gets a clear, basically, thought on Lu Bu. Lu Bu is a snake. He does whatever interests him best. He changes sides. He betrays people on so many different occasions and tries to even win them back again, and only to betray them again.
Yeah.
And it's what you're seeing is this Lu Bu. He's at this point when he's with Ding Yuan and Dong Zhuo. He's still young. Like it's safe to assume he's a young man at this point. So like Dong Zhuo is like, okay, I can easily persuade this guy in my direction. Yeah. Just gonna buy him, make sure I just basically buy his interest, and that's exactly what he does.
And he successfully does it too, very easily. Lu Bu, quite of a gullible warrior as well. He was more muscle than brains.
Oh, he possessed zero strategy, zero.
And he listened to Dong Zhuo, and he decapitates his foster father, Ding Yuan. Decapitates him, brings the severed head to Dong Zhuo, showing loyalty to this new guy he doesn't even know, really.
You know what the crazy thing about this is? When you look back at all this, is you think, okay, these guys were chopping people's heads off and showing them to other people as a sign of respect, and I'm this guy, and I did this favor for you. And you think about it in modern day, it's like, who would ever do this?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
It's crazy to even think about just what kind of times that the past people lived in.
It was like a normal thing for warriors just to do. Bring his head. Oh, now you get rewarded for this. You show your loyalty to me now.
It's crazy. It almost sounds like a fairy tale. It's almost like, whoa, how could this?
And it's not the first time Lu Bu does this too. He will do this again. So Deng Zhuo managed to claim control of the central government now during this whole political turmoil in the capital. He then intimidated the child emperor so much, or scared him so much into giving up the throne. The child emperor, who's like 12 years old, he gives up the throne because of how scared he is of Deng Zhuo, and his brother now becomes the new puppet ruler. The entire capital was in so much fear of Deng Zhuo that they all just watched him manipulate and change the royal system to his choosing. Even the empress depressingly watched Deng Zhuo scare her son off the throne. Deng Zhuo then murdered the empress and her mother, eliminating more obstacles for total power over China. Hearing about Deng Zhuo's tyranny plans and acts, Yuan Shao gets into motion again. Now he hears, okay, Deng Zhuo is not only, trying to change the emperor, he is trying to be essentially the emperor. And, even without the title, he has the power of one.
Yeah, he's trying to steal all the power for himself.
Yeah, he controls the whole central government at this point. And he's living in Luoyang, in the capital. He lives there now. So Yuan Shao, in how he knows best, he starts getting into action immediately. So first it was the eunuchs, and now it's his former ally Deng Zhuo that he has to deal with. Yuan Shao forms a huge coalition against Deng Zhuo, a huge alliance, who essentially is now, Deng Zhuo essentially now is the most powerful man in China. Yuan Shao's coalition includes commanders from eastern provinces, great leaders like Cao Cao, Liu Bei, Sun Jian, Yuan Shu, Han Fu, Zheng Miao, and Bao Zhen, like many others. We're talking about like the majority of China at this point. All the leaders are teaming up against Deng Zhuo under Yuan Shao, who's going to lead the coalition.
And the very interesting thing about this is now what Yuan Shao does now, and this is actually a pretty smart move on his part. Yuan Shao actually comes from nobility.
Yeah.
So basically, and he uses that merit to be able to get all of these people under his allegiance.
Yes.
And what happens is he persuades them basically into saying, look, this guy, he's trying to steal the throne. He is an enemy to the Han, when in reality, most of these guys, if not all of them, were. But Deng Zhuo was the main bad guy at this specific point.
He actually had the power they all want.
So Yuan Shao is basically saying, look, this guy he's a threat to the Han tradition, to the Han emperor. He's a despot. We need to get rid of him.
Yes, exactly. And Cao Cao, who's very ambitious, he was so determined to take down Deng Zhuo that he spent his entire family fortune to develop an army. This is a clear example of why popular media always portrayed and spoke about Cao Cao's ambition. This is a definite, a perfect example of that.
And the other thing, you're seeing that he really wants that title of hero.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the hero. I'm going to save the day. I'm that super ambitious guy. But of course, he goes about it completely backwards.
Yeah. And then, as we know about Lu Bu, he's essentially just a bodyguard for Deng Zhuo. He's also living in the capital. He never really gets into politics and was really just used for muscle. Lu Bu finally ordered onto the battlefield. So now the coalition is attacking. They're going after Deng Zhuo. And Lu Bu Cao Cao is attacking Deng Zhuo at, I think it was the eastern front. And
yes.
I think Sun Jian was attacking from the south, if I'm not wrong. But Lu Bu was finally ordered into battle, and he was ordered to attack Sun Jian. Now, Sun Jian is, how will we describe him?
Sun Jian, he's very brave.
Yeah.
Sun Jian is a man of duty. Like, he's very brave. He's loyal to his family.
Yeah, very family oriented. And he proclaims himself to be a descendant of Sun Tzu. Right, the famous Sun Tzu, which I don't know if that was, is that a real thing?
It's not clear if it's known, but Sun Jian himself claimed that.
He definitely fought in a way that showed he at least had the military prowess in order to, be a descendant of Sun Tzu, or at least take under that name.
And out of all these major leaders, and I'm not going to paint him in a good or bad light, but out of all of them, Sun Jian, probably morally speaking, is the better of them all.
Yeah. At
this specific point, because Liu Bei is not really known yet.
I actually agree with that.
Sun Jian, so far, you're not seeing him really snake anybody. He's not really just backstabbing anybody. He's kind of just there.
Yeah, and he is one of the most formidable leaders in the whole coalition.
Oh, for sure, without question.
Yeah. Even though at this point he hasn't proved himself to the others, but from this entire war against Deng Zhuo, people start to get his respect for what he was able to do. So as we know, Lu Bu, very menacing, very powerful. A lot of people respect him. Lu Bu is sent to attack Sun Jian. But here's the problem. that Dong Zhuo did not see. Lu Bu has a hard time getting along with people. And Lu Bu was to team up with the officers Hu Zhen, who's going to come very important later, and another officer, Hua Xiong. Hua Xiong was among Dong Zhuo's best warriors, but Hu Zhen and Lu Bu did not get along at all. In fact, Lu Bu hated Hu Zhen so much that he would spread false rumors that would confuse their own soldiers to cause disarray.
And the interesting thing about this whole conflict between Lu Bu and Sun Jian is Sun Jian knew that.
Yeah,
Sun Jian knew that these two weren't content with one another.
exactly.
So Sun Jian knew that.
He quickly acted on this too. He led to a crushing defeat of Lu Bu and the capture and execution of Hua Xiong. So Sun Jian not only defeated Lu Bu, he took one of Dong Zhuo's best warriors and killed him in the very same battle.
And judging by his basically his strategic intelligence, he might have been actually related to Sun Tzu. Who knows?
Yeah, I know, right? Because you're going to see more of this later. This allows Sun Jian to press forward towards Luoyang, the capital. Sun Jian's confidence and multiple victories got Yuan Shu, who's actually his leader at the time. Yuan Shu became paranoid that he would not be able to control Sun Jian if he arrived to Luoyang first. Look how these guys thought. So Yuan Shu did not want to see Sun Jian get to the capital before everybody because he was scared that Sun Jian would take out Dong Zhuo and take over the central government and become essentially the emperor himself.
Big struggle for power.
His own leader was thinking this.
Yeah.
He was having so much success. He was winning on your side, and you just didn't want to see it happen.
And this is what I mean by a struggle for power. And when there's no loyalty and there's no centralization, basically everybody's at each other's throats, even people that are allied with one another.
Yes.
It's just like, whoa, what's going on here? It's a mess everywhere, and this is what you're seeing here.
And what Yuan Shu does in response is he stops the food supplies to Sun Jian. So this badly slowed him down. He couldn't get to the capital without food supplies.
An army marches on its stomach.
Exactly. Yep. And Sun Jian knew this because in a single night, he rode his horse back to Yuan Shu, angered, right? This is his leader again. And he tells him, he scolds him, right? This is what he says. I put myself in danger during battle with a primary purpose to eliminate a traitor for the country, and second, to avenge the deaths of your kinsmen. I have no personal grudge towards Dong Zhuo too. Yet you believe slanderous talks and suspect me? End quote. Yuan Shu and the rest of the coalition understood that Sun Jian is to be trusted at this point, and this allowed him to continue the food supplies for Sun Jian. Dong Zhuo heard word of this, right? He knows that Lu Bu just lost. He knows Sun Jian is advancing, and he actually grows fear of Sun Jian so much that he attempted to bribe him with political power as a governor. He told Sun Jian, yo, if you come to my side, I'll make you a governor, right? You could be with us. You'll be a royal, politician and all this stuff. But Sun Jian refused by saying to the messenger that Dong Zhuo sent him, quote, Dong Zhuo opposes heaven and defies the law. Until I have killed you and all of your clan and shown your head to the 4 seas, I shall not be able to die in peace. How can I ally with you? End quote. Sun Jian was for real, man.
Yeah, he was about his business. He was no joke.
And he arrived to Luoyang, right? Sun Jian arrives to the capital, close by, not exactly there. And Dong Zhuo actually comes out with Lu Bu to ambush him near the tombs of the emperors. This is very important. So there's a site where the emperors were buried, and Dong Zhuo tries to ambush Sun Jian there, but was quickly defeated. Sun Jian destroyed Dong Zhuo and Lu Bu there too.
And just so everybody knows, for Dong Zhuo to do something like this by the tombs of the emperors, this is seen as a very, very great disrespect.
Yes, and he didn't care.
He did not. It didn't matter to him.
Matter.
He just wanted power. That's it. He didn't care about nothing.
Yeah, and they both get defeated very easily. Sun Jian attacked Lu Bu again at Luoyang's Zhuanyang Gate, which is a very long name. Essentially just the gate to the capital, and quickly defeated him there too. So he defeated Lu Bu 3 times in a row like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly when Sun Jian does this, but I believe it's from the Tomb of the Emperors, or at some point he does get the Imperial Seal. But here's the thing now. Dong Zhuo evacuates Luoyang. Sun Jian's there, right? He can't have Sun Jian here. Dong Zhuo is so scared of Sun Jian, he evacuates the capital and tries to locate his new capital west at a city called Chang'an. But before he leaves, he pillaged the capital, right? He pillaged Luoyang, and he ordered Lu Bu and his men to grave rob valuables and treasures. And then he ordered the death of the entire Yuan clan in the capital before leaving, and set the whole thing ablaze and fire.
And the reason he does that is because he knows that if he just runs, if he leaves the whole city of Luoyang intact and he just runs for it, he just books it, he knows that Sun Jian can claim power just by settling in Luoyang. So he knows if I burn the city down, I take all the wealth, and I take everything else, Sun Jian can't claim anything because there's nothing to claim. So I'm just, me as the guy with all this power, I'm just going to move my authority to Chang'an.
Exactly.
So you're seeing a little bit of intelligence on Dong Zhuo's part.
Yeah, a little bit at least.
A little bit. So he knows that much.
When it comes to holding his power, he knows how to claw his way into certain situations. But, the whole capital starts burning down. And it's quoted in the records that it killed an immeasurable amount of people. So the coalition starts to get there, right? They're all coming there one by one. Sun Jian's there, Cao Cao's there, and they eagerly wanted to pursue Dong Zhuo, but Yuan Shao refused, right? So both Sun Jian and Cao Cao are eager to get on him, which is very strange why Yuan Shao didn't pursue him when his style is usually that way, to go after the enemy quickly. But he refused this time. Sun Jian obeyed him, Cao Cao did not. This is the first of the conflict between Cao Cao and Yuan Shao, which they're going to get into a lot more later. Cao Cao pursued Dong Zhuo, right? Didn't listen to Yuan Shao. And that led to the Battle of Xingyang, where Dong Zhuo's officer, Zhu Rong, contested Cao Cao. So Dong Zhuo's on the run, he's leaving. Zhu Rong stops Cao Cao. He gets right in front of him and defeats Cao Cao actually pretty badly, allowing Dong Zhuo to retreat to Chang'an. The coalition all met at the site of the destroyed capital. They're all there at Luoyang, and it's all burned down. This also symbolized the end of the Han Dynasty, at least to the coalition's eyes.
Yeah, basically the burning of Luoyang said, okay, the Han is no longer the Han. It's from here, the whole central government is done.
Yeah, it's all done. It's just ashes and debris, and it's not worth it for anybody in the coalition to stay. Why are we going to stay? What are we here for? We were here to stop Dong Zhuo from taking over power in China, but because the Han Dynasty is essentially over now, we gotta support ourselves now, right? We got land, we got territories. We're all gonna rise up and become the most powerful in China. Which, again, like you said, this is essentially what it always was about. All these guys want power, all of them.
And this is the interesting thing right here. When it comes to when you're studying the Three Kingdoms period, you study human nature very well. So what you're looking at here is there's three types of society: individual, tribal, and then nation.
Yes.
The Han was a nation. Now that the Han has crumbled due to basically Dong Zhuo single-handedly, what happens now? It's become an individual state now. So basically, not only are warlords not safe, even regular everyday peasants basically, they're not safe. Everyday people are not safe now because now their warlord has to be able to defend against multiple different warlords within their own country. Yeah. So now the Han Dynasty has went from a whole central nation to individual nation now. Basically, every man for himself.
Yeah. Every province that they all own is essentially like a country they have to defend against the neighboring province.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. Basically, each and every kingdom is its own country at this point, trying to defend itself. And you have countries that are landlocked, and they can't even. So they're basically surrounded on all sides, in other words, and they can't even move. And they have to try to build alliances, and then there's disease, and then basically this is a very, very desperate time right now.
Especially Liu Bei's province, right? That's surrounded by Cao Cao, Yuan Shu, like a bunch of different guys that eventually do attack him, and on different sides.
Oh yeah,
which is crazy. And at this point, Dong Zhuo successfully moves his capital, and he moves it to the city of Chang'an, and he calls himself a new title. He called himself Grand Master. All right, Dong Zhuo's the Grand Master of China. Sure. And he started throwing banquets and parties, as if he was victorious, right?
Right, as if he defeated all his enemies and there's no problems in the world.
Very egotistical. And he has a bunch of rich people at this feast, right? They're all having a good time, essentially, until he brings out the enemy prisoner. And he starts bringing these prisoners out to the banquets in order to torture them in front of his guests. And he thought this was amusing, right? And also, something you've told me before is, he did this also to kind of show his power. Yeah,
so what this is when these guys would do this, even in other time periods and other empires, what would happen is, as cruel as it is, it was a display of power. As look at my power, look at my prestige. And then it was a way of impressing your hosts.
Exactly. And he would, not to get into too much detail, but he would sever the prisoners' limbs. He would remove their tongues and eyeballs. He would burn them alive. And he enjoyed it all. He actually loved seeing this.
Yeah, just a terrible human being.
Horrible. His guests did not find it amusing at all, though. And Dong Zhuo would also rudely berate and attack his guests, even though he was paranoid, which is kind of strange. He was paranoid that someone would eventually assassinate him, but the thing is, he always kept Lu Bu to his side as a bodyguard. If Lu Bu was close by, no one would even try. And that was actually true. Nobody tried.
Yeah, for a while, it was very true.
Yeah, nobody tried until the guy who was closest to him did. Dong Zhuo would also throw weapons at Lu Bu out of anger when he would rage out and have a temper tantrum. Right, in his palace, he has a new castle in Chang'an. Every time he got mad, he threw weapons at Lu Bu.
And that's the interesting thing. They would say he would throw Ji at Lu Bu, which is basically a halberd.
Yeah.
And what would happen is he ended up becoming paranoid about these. Like, he would tell his other close advisors, he'd be like, I don't think Lu Bu trusts me. Well, yeah, what do you think? You're throwing pole arms at the guy.
Exactly. He has no idea. He has no awareness of like his surroundings, essentially, or what he's doing.
Yeah, as a leader, he's very incompetent in the sense that you have this incredibly powerful fighting bodyguard and you're going to lose his trust.
Yeah.
You know he could kill you in the blink of an eye.
And he does lose his trust. Lu Bu started to grow hatred for Dong Zhuo. And Lu Bu would have an affair with one of Dong Zhuo's maids. In popular media, she's given a name, but it's not a real person. Her name in popular media is Diao Chan, but there was no name of Diao Chan in historical records. It was just some maid, part of Dong Zhuo's harem that Lu Bu had an affair with. And Lu Bu was actually kind of scared about that. He actually feared that Dong Zhuo would find out.
Yeah, he basically got into an affair with one of the concubines, essentially, and he was like, oh, I don't know if this was a good idea. I mean, Dong Zhuo's probably going to come after me now.
And it's not the first time he sleeps with other people's essentially women and wives.
No, definitely not the first. He keeps going.
Lu Bu was so upset with Dong Zhuo still, though, about throwing the halberd at him, that he met with one of the highest ranking governors in China at the time. His name, he had a title of Minister over the Masses. So over the masses, he's the guy above you. His name was Wang Yun. Lu Bu told him how Dong Zhuo almost killed him by throwing the weapon at him. And Wang Yun and another official told Lu Bu about a plan they were already devising to assassinate Dong Zhuo. And Lu Bu instantly refused. He's like, there's no way. I would never do that. He looks at Dong Zhuo as another foster father. And he said, I would never do that to my own father. I would never kill him. Wang Yun, though, logically explains to Lu Bu how Dong Zhuo is not his father. And this is going to be another example of how Lu Bu was again talked into something. He tells him, quote, your family name is Lu, so you are not related to him. He was not concerned when he almost killed you. So where was that father-son bond then? End quote.
Yeah, basically, how can you call him a father when he tried killing you?
He tried to kill you.
And you have no blood relation to
And then Lu Bu's like, oh, you're right. Okay. So Lu Bu comes to an understanding and agrees to take down the tyrant with the help of the General Li Su, who's a general under Dong Zhuo. So he's also fed up with Dong Zhuo too. Little known to Dong Zhuo. In the early morning of May 22nd, 192 AD, Lu Bu, Li Su, and the minister over the masses, Wang Yun, are positioned at the gate of the palace in their new capital of Chang'an. They're waiting for Dong Zhuo. Dong Zhuo, whatever he's got to do, he's going to eventually come out of the palace, right? Lu Bu standing guard with Li Su, and they greet Dong Zhuo as he passes by, and they also have a dozen guards. So Li Su, out of nowhere, suddenly goes to stab Lu Bu with his spear. Stab Dong Zhuo with his spear. But Dong Zhuo's armor saves him from the blow being fatal. Dong Zhuo then cries out to Lu Bu, pleading with him to save him, right? Don't allow Li Su to kill me. Attack Li Su, defend me, right? And then Lu Bu stands over Dong Zhuo and tells him the final words from Lu Bu to Dong Zhuo were, quote, this is an imperial order, end quote. And then he finishes off the tyrant, killing essentially his foster father. And Wang Yun, the minister over the masses, took over Chang'an. He becomes the new ruler. They also left, this is crazy, they left Dong Zhuo's corpse on the street for days and lit a wick on his belly button, like essentially, burning the flesh too and all that stuff. It's crazy.
And there's a little legend. I mean, there's a little legend they say about that specific moment when they burned his body. They said it took days for Dong Zhuo to burn because of how fat he was.
Exactly. And Wang Yun gave an order to anybody that even tried to move his body, they would be killed. No one was to touch Dong Zhuo's body. And 3 officials actually tried. One of them was an astronomer named Kai Yong. They all got killed. All of Dong Zhuo's clan were also put to death. This is very similar to what Dong Zhuo did to Yuan Shao's clan. And they also killed Dong Zhuo's 90-year-old mother too. Now the reason why they do this is not going to be the first or second time. A lot of warlords during China did this. They killed the clan because they didn't want any uprising, right? There could be some man or somebody that would eventually come up and try to take revenge. So they just killed the whole clan out of, safety, I guess, in a sense.
And we had even mentioned that in our past episode with Alexander the Great, how they had killed all of his offspring.
Yep, exactly.
So you're seeing this happen everywhere, basically.
Yeah, like Alexander the Great, when he took over Gaza, he killed all the men there. And he essentially did that because there would be no able-bodied person to take over or to uprise.
Right.
So in China, they killed everybody. There was no one in your clan was to be alive.
Yeah, to eliminate any chance of revenge.
Yeah, and that's why no one in Deng Zhuo's entire lineage exists today. So Deng Zhuo, but Deng Zhuo had a few followers, right? A few officers and stuff. Their names were Li Ju, Guo Si, and there were a few others. They feared death by Wang Yun, so they went into hiding. Right, Wang Yun's killing the clan. He's taking extreme measures toward anybody that backs up Deng Zhuo. So they went to hiding, and the cunning strategist, very intelligent guy historically, his name was Jia Zhu. He convinced the followers to develop an army and take back Chang'an from Wang Yun, since Deng Zhuo's army had not been touched since they arrived to the capital. The followers gathered several thousand men to attack the city. And Wang Yun sent Zhu Rong, the guy that stopped Cao Cao back then, and the guy Lu Bu does not like, Hu Zhen, to defeat the followers. Zhu Rong was quickly killed in battle, and Hu Zhen defected back to Deng Zhuo's forces. Lu Bu was right about that guy. So Hu Zhen, the same guy that he had problems with in that one battle against Sun Jian, he defected with almost 100,000 men to the other side.
Yep.
So now Li Ju and Guo Si have a force of over 100,000. And increasing morale. They attacked the city walls. Guo Si was at the north gate where he saw his former comrade Lu Bu. He arrives to the gate, Lu Bu standing there, and Lu Bu starts taunting him. Right? He knows Guo Si. And it's quite interesting how this played out, because in knowing Guo Si's personality and knowing that he also has an increasing morale in this battle, he's got defectors on his side, all this stuff, Guo Si's going to have a little bit of an ego about himself. And Lu Bu tells him, no men, we're fighting this one-on-one. We'll settle this with a duel, right? And it successfully works.
Yeah, typical of Lu Bu's nature.
Yeah, Guo Si had so much confidence that he foolishly accepted the duel, and everybody knew never duel Lu Bu.
Yeah, you don't go one-on-one against Lu Bu.
You can beat him with men in a strategic battle, but you can't beat him in a duel. In the fight where no one initially intervened, Guo Si quickly got stabbed by Lu Bu's halberd and was injured badly. Guo Si's men had to come in and save him, drag him out, and then right away they started attacking Lu Bu and his men. So the duel was very quick. It was over, and it was over like with a quickness. And the men started attacking Lu Bu and pushed him into the capital. And eventually Lu Bu saw, okay, this is a losing battle. He understood that this is not going to end well for Wang Yun and him. So he actually flees the city with a few hundred men.
And just so everybody understands, whenever duels happened in ancient times, a lot of people have this fake view of, they would clash weapons so many times, it would be a long fight. Most duels in reality were only just a few clashes, and then a death blow was given.
Yep,
because
exactly.
One, your whether it be a sword or a spear or it didn't matter, your blade could only tolerate so much blunt force to it till it were chipped or broke.
Yeah.
So duels essentially were very quick. Duels were very, very quick simply because the weapon itself couldn't handle it. And not only that, death blows were delivered very, very quickly.
Exactly. And the armor back then wasn't necessarily like
ideal,
too advanced and ideal for taking big blows like that. But Lu Bu flees the city. He has a few hundred horsemen with him, and Wang Yun's forces were crushed. Like Guo Si and Li Ju were absolutely destroying Wang Yun. Back in the capital, though, Wang Yun got overwhelmed and actually committed suicide. He was in fear that Guo Si and Li Ju would do something to him if they captured him. And he also believed that those two guys wanted him instead of the capital. But he was wrong on that. Guo Si and Li Ju actually took over Chang'an and the young emperor hostage. So the kid, I don't know if he's a kid anymore, like a teenager at this point.
Right.
They take him hostage. And again, the Deng Zhuo name somehow gets power over the imperial system.
And that's the interesting thing. You're seeing a lot of paranoia going on here. Even people that think they might get betrayed or backstabbed. There's constant paranoia amongst everybody here because of how scary and desperate the situation is.
Yeah, and Lu Bu's on his journey now. There's going to be a long journey with Lu Bu. He's trying to find a home, essentially. He's trying to seek refuge. He has nowhere to go. Deng Zhuo's gone. He can't go to Guilxi and Li Ju. They just try to kill him. Wang Yun's dead. Well, little did he know, but he knew the capital was going to fall, so eventually Wang Yun's going to die. He needs to find somewhere to go, but the thing is, the whole coalition that went against him are the neighboring provinces, and how can he get all their trust? What he does is he grabs Dong Zhuo's severed head. So he decapitates Dong Zhuo, takes his head with him on his journey to wherever he seeks out first. And the first warlord he seeks out is Yuan Shu. He arrived and met Yuan Shu at his place, showcasing Dong Zhuo's head. I have the guy's head that you guys all fought against. He did this in a way to kind of get his approval.
Yeah, he's basically trying to buy his trust. Exactly. Trying to say, look, I helped out everybody by getting rid of this guy. Let me stay here, whatever.
Now, there are historical records that are conflicting. One of them, which is the records of the Three Kingdoms, says that Lu Bu was one that was being kind of respectful and expected to be welcomed by bringing the head of Dong Zhuo. But Yuan Shu was more like disrespectful to him and rejected him. And then the book of the Lei Han says that Lu Bu came in there very arrogant and just demanding respect, essentially, demanding trust. And Yuan Shu was kind of like, I don't trust this guy, and rejected him still. But regardless, Lu Bu left, as Yuan Shu did not want anything to do with him. And this is going to be very important because it's not the first time these two guys try to make a deal with each other, or essentially Lu Bu making a deal with him. It's going to be the other way around soon after. Lu Bu, again on his journey, he heads out. He leaves Yuan Shu's province and heads out to join Yuan Shao, his brother, Yuan Shu's brother. Lu Bu was very arrogant when he met with Yuan Shao and treated Yuan Shao's men very badly. But he was so strong that Yuan Shao needed him to temporarily help because there was a bit of a skirmish or a battle that Yuan Shao was having with these guys called the Black Mountain Bandits. And this was happening at I think it's a city of Changshan.
Yes.
These bandits were elite soldiers in their mountainous terrain. And Yuan Shao was already suffering heavy casualties at this point. Lu Bu rides into battle, though, so he helps out Yuan Shao. Yuan Shao can't afford to let Lu Bu just leave. This is a guy that he really needs, especially for this moment.
Yeah, he's a strong ally, but he's unreliable.
He's unreliable. So let him cause some destruction, and then I'll reject him later.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, so Lu Bu comes in swooping as the flying general, right? He comes in riding with his cavalry, swiftly attacking and retreating the bandit camps. So he's constantly like hit and running these guys. And he would do it 4 times a day over the span of 10 days. And this was absolutely destroying the bandits.
Yeah, this is very, if you're on the receiving end of this is very tiresome. It's like, whoa, this guy he comes in real fast and real hard. He charges hard and it's like, whoa, what's going on?
And then he leaves quickly. And on his red hair, there's really no one that's going to be able to hunt him down or pursue him.
Yeah.
So due to his efforts, Lu Bu requested more men from Yuan Shao. So they defeat these guys, and he wants more men from Yuan Shao. And Yuan Shao refused. He's like, okay, you helped me out, but I can't trust you. Like, what if I give you men, what are you going to do then?
Yeah, he's already built this. Lu Bu was already building this aura of untrustworthiness around him because, well, you backstabbed your first stepdad, then your second stepdad.
Yeah.
And you're basically turning your head wherever interests you best. And it's like, Yuan Shao knows this. He's like, I can't trust this guy.
Yeah, and not only Yuan Shao was growing suspicious of Lu Bu, but Lu Bu was also growing suspicious of Yuan Shao. Because what happens is, Lu Bu mentioned that he wanted to leave and go to the former capital of Luoyang, which was burned down, which is a very strange thing to say. I'm going to go back to the former capital. And Yuan Shao pretended that he will follow with the plan, so he sent Lu Bu 30 men to aid him on his journey. Yuan Shao planned to kill Lu Bu. Like, he used these men not to help him, but to kill him.
Yeah, he wanted to assassinate him. He didn't trust him.
Yeah, and eventually along the journey to Luoyang, Lu Bu camped to rest over the night. So this would happen, obviously, a couple times. And, they'll put up tents to sleep in during the night, off the road. And this is a perfect opportunity for the 30 soldiers' mission. They quietly snuck into Lu Bu's tent while he's sleeping and they stabbed him. Or they thought that they stabbed him because it wasn't actually Lu Bu in there. The soldiers report to Yuan Shao that Lu Bu is dead. They accomplished their mission. But Lu Bu was nowhere in the camp during that time. In fact, Lu Bu predicted this from Yuan Shao as he told a soldier the day before to sleep in his tent while he departs that same the night before they attack him.
Yeah, and he had placed a soldier underneath the blankets to sleep to completely cover him. So when these assassins walked in, they figured underneath those blankets it's Lu Bu.
Yep.
They just went for the kill and just assumed we got him.
And at nighttime, they can't tell.
No, right? They
Unless
can't
they
tell.
put a torch or something, but they just confirmed it, right? They just went back home. They don't want to stay there after stabbing Lu Bu, right? Because his men are around too, so they don't want to be there the whole time and see if it's actually him. So Yuan Shao thinks that he killed Lu Bu. He's the guy that did it, and Lu Bu journeyed to another warlord named Zhang Yang. This led to the news that Lu Bu was still alive. He arrived at another person's place, and then Yuan Shao's like, oh shoot, he's not dead. And Yuan Shao was so scared, he was struck with so much fear that he locked the gates of his city for good, or at least for a long time.
Yeah, he basically went on red alert and said, all right, we're locking this whole place down.
Just because of one man. And remember, Lu Bu only has a few hundred men with him, right? He doesn't have a whole army. That's how that's how much these guys feared his ability on the battlefield, right? So Yuan Shao eventually would send men out to look for Lu Bu, but they will all pretend like they went out to look for him. Actually, they never went to look for him in fear of actually approaching Lu Bu or coming across him, and they also feared defying Yuan Shao. So they kind of just pretended they were going out there.
Right.
When Lu Bu entered Zhang Yang's territory, another guy, so this is the third territory he's trying to seek refuge, he was greeted with another sinister welcome. This guy did not trust him. Zhang Yang was bribed actually by Guo Si and Li Ju before this to kill Lu Bu if he sees him. Lu Bu happened to hear about this and began reasoning with Zhang Yang by saying, quote, I'm from the same province as you. If you kill me, you'll become weaker. If you recruit me, though, you can obtain the same honors and titles as Li Ju and Guo Si, the guys that took over the capital. Understand Lu Bu's logic and strength. It became possible in his head, right, Zhang Yang's head, that with Lu Bu, he wouldn't need Li Ju's bribery. Zhang Yang rejected Lu Bu publicly to keep himself in good light of his people, but in secret, he protected Lu Bu. Upon suspicion, though, right, Lu Bu wasn't really trusting this. If he can, he's kind of like conflicted with if he could trust Zhang Yang, because all these other guys tried to do something to him, or they just outright rejected him. Zhang Yang at first rejected him, but then off the offer, he's kind of like, maybe I'll think about it. I'll treat you with respect for now, but in public, I can't be seen with you. If you can't be seen with Lu Bu in public, he's a warrior. Then what can he do? That's what kind of confused me when I first read about that.
And that's the thing. That goes back to what I had mentioned earlier about there's an issue here amongst all these generals and all these leaders. There's a trust problem here. There's a paranoia problem here. And obviously with Lu Bu, they rightfully have that paranoia because this guy he's basically backstabbing everybody, trying to find a home. And what he's doing essentially, he's trying to buy his way into every single regional lord that he comes into contact with.
Yeah.
And it's just none of them can trust him. None of them.
Yeah. And again, if he can't be seen in public with him, how is he going to use Lu Bu? Like, of course, this guy's going to do something. So Lu Bu leaves. He's like, forget this. I can't trust this guy at all. On to the journey again he goes to seek for a home. He passed the town of Chenliu, it's called.
Yes.
Where he got a kind welcoming from the warlord, former coalition leader, and an enemy of Dongzhuo, Zheng Miao. This is one of the big leaders that were in the coalition. Finally, a friend of Lu Bu, or for Lu Bu at least. Someone that treated him generously, but Lu Bu wasn't staying in the town. He was going to stay in the province, but not in the town itself. But while he was there, the friendship was reported to Yuan Shao. So here's the thing here now. Zheng Miao, Yuan Shao, and Cao Cao are allies. The province that Zheng Miao's town is in is Cao Cao's province. Yuan Shao hears word of this, and he gets very angry, right? Zheng Miao, upon hearing that Yuan Shao heard this, became nervous as his town is part of the Yan province. The Yan province is controlled by Cao Cao. Cao Cao is a close ally of Yuan Shao. So he thought that the two would join forces and attack his town for welcoming a monster into the province. They do not want Lu Bu in Yan province at all.
That's the scary thing right there is now he gets word of, okay, he's in Cao Cao's territory.
Yeah.
He's like, now they're collaborating with one another. Now he's got all these fears going in his head. Okay, I tried killing them, I failed. Now he found refuge in Yan province with Cao Cao. Now he's going to try with everything he has to collaborate with Cao Cao, and now they're possibly going to come after me. Yeah. These people there's so much paranoia, it's just insane.
It's insane. And imagine being Cao Cao and learning that Lu Bu's in your province because of Zheng Miao. It's like, okay, this is not good.
Yeah, and if you're Yuan Shao, you almost have the right to think that way because it's like you tried to kill this guy. Now you've made an enemy with a guy that you tried to kill.
Yeah, and I don't know. It doesn't state anywhere in the records, at least from what I read, that Cao Cao even knew that Lu Bu was there. But Cao Cao leaves Yan Province in 194 AD. He goes to attack Zhou Province. Zhou Province, I don't know if it's controlled by Liu Bei at this point,
No.
but Liu Bei is in Zhou Province. This is a great opportunity for a rebellion from Zheng Miao's brother. His name is Zheng Chao. The rebels convinced Zheng Miao to join them in overthrowing Cao Cao and taking Yan Province. They have Lu Bu with them, so it is possible. At least that's what they were thinking.
And you see that and that's how everybody during this time is working. You're getting a really good understanding of human nature. As soon as they see one tiny little opening, they say, okay, now go for the kill. And it's constant paranoia every single day.
Yep. And just because Lu Bu walked into the province, they think, oh, now we have a chance. We can actually do this. And Cao Cao will retaliate or Cao Cao did not retaliate yet. He will retaliate later. Zheng Miao was already questioning, though, whether Cao Cao will retaliate. And, he befriended Lu Bu. This is a very, how should I say? It's something that's completely against unwritten rules with these guys because no one under Deng Zhuo can be trusted.
Right.
Nobody. And, by befriending Lu Bu, though, he thinks he does have a chance. So he also joins the rebellion and recruits Lu Bu in taking over Yan Province. Lu Bu swiftly seizes control of the city of Puyang and proclaims himself as the governor of the Yan Province.
Yeah, now he's taking titles for himself now. He's claiming power for himself. That's the one basically cardinal sin during this time you don't do.
Yes, and Cao Cao gets word of that. He gets word that Lu Bu has rampaged through his province and is proclaiming himself the governor. So he quickly steers back. He's like, all right, forget this. I got to go back home. And he's with his second-in-command, Xiahou Dun, with also Xiahou Yuan and Dian Wei and some of these other great generals under him, great officers. Cao Cao clashes a Lu Bu. So he gets to his province and he gets into Puyang, that city. Clashes a Lu Bu to a stalemate for 100 days. This is where also Xiahou Dun loses his eye. That famous story about the one-eyed Xiahou Dun.
Yep.
He doesn't eat his eye, though, as the Romance Three Kingdoms portray in the games and stuff. In real life, he lost his eye from a stray arrow, and that was it. He kind of hated it, though. He didn't like looking himself in the mirror.
Yeah.
They say he used to always break the mirrors whenever he saw himself or saw his reflection. And then, they were fighting with Lu Bu, though, 100 days. But here's the crazy part. Disease and famine grew. Locusts and a drought destroy the crops. Lu Bu does not know how to handle this. He's not a politician. He's not a leader. At least at heart, like you said before, leaders are made. Leaders are born, not made.
Correct, yep.
And Lu Bu's not. He's not a leader at all.
He doesn't have what it takes. And it's interesting because now it's like, okay, now you're in this position where you have to be a good leader. Can you do it? He can't do it.
Exactly. And it made ruling over Yan Province impossible for Lu Bu due to his inexperience. And he leaves, right, and relocates east to Shenyang. The famine becomes so bad that civilians resort to cannibalism in order to survive.
Yeah, that's absolutely harsh.
And that's what Cao Cao has to deal with now. In 2 years, Cao Cao takes back his territory and pushes Lu Bu out. Lu Bu flees again to find refuge. Back on the journey he goes, as all these guys have to deal with their own provinces now. Lu Bu's causing so much destruction that these guys can't just go after him when he leaves.
And just so everybody knows, he's not a pest at this point. Lu Bu is an actual threat. Like it's actually crazy how he can jump from kingdom to kingdom and cause this much trouble.
Yeah.
And it's like, so he's not, for anybody out there that may think, oh, he's just being a pest. He's far more than a pest. He's a real threat.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have that much men with him when he's on this journey.
And that's the crazy thing about it. He's not this giant army.
Yeah, exactly. So on his journey again, he goes, searching for another home. And as for Zheng Miao, the guy that led Lu Bu into the Yan Province, he leaves his brother and family in fear of Cao Cao. He attempted to meet with Yuan Shu for protection, but his own men killed him along the way there. Cao Cao then killed Zheng Miao's entire clan. So it happens again.
Yeah,
it's a common thing to kill the entire clan again.
Wipe everybody out.
Yeah. Lu Bu journeyed east to the place that Cao Cao attempted to invade, Zhou Province, right? And this is where he meets Liu Bei. So here we go again. Let's see if this guy can trust him. So Lu Bu actually took a different approach this time. He respected Liu Bei, or at least acted like he did. he was unusually friendly to him and even told him, quote, we are both from the northern borders. Lu Bu explained to Liu Bei that that he heard that Liu Bei was in the coalition to stop Dong Zhuo, and he wanted to help Liu Bei. Then after he killed Dong Zhuo, no one in the coalition would welcome him, and instead they wanted to kill Lu Bu, right? Liu Bei would act like he understands Lu Bu, like he's a bit of a friend to him, like he trusts him, but he's only acting. Liu Bei also has a little bit of a different, how should I say, like a different personality compared to the other guys.
And that's the interesting thing is basically it comes down to almost like human psychology, basically, when you're looking at it. When two men come together as a meeting for the first time, and one, for example, in Lu Bu's situation, being a great warrior, of course, and he's acting super nice, a little too nice, that's never a good sign. When when a meeting between two men happens and one of the men is being super nice, that's usually not a good sign.
Yeah, it's essentially just being fake.
There needs to be a sign of almost of resilience, I would say, this almost of backbone. And Lu Bu's like, oh, hey, we're buddies, we're really good friends, I respect you a lot, this and that. And Liu Bei's like, I don't know about you.
And not only was he like trying to be friends with him, he was even calling Liu Bei his younger brother.
Yeah, he even took it that far. Yeah,
he took it, like, call him, we're brothers.
And that's a huge red flag right there.
They don't even know each other. They fought against each other.
And out of all these leaders that Lu Bu runs into, Liu Bei has the smartest judgment of Lu Bu.
Yes,
He's like, you know what? I'm not going to get this guy mad. But then again, I'll keep him at a certain distance.
Exactly. And Liu Bei at the same time was at conflict with Yuan Shu, right? So it was that first guy that Lu Bu brought the Dong Zhuo's head to. Yuan Shu heard about Lu Bu in this province that he's in conflicts with. So he took this opportunity to trick Lu Bu into attacking from within. So he wants his way into the province. He has problems with Liu Bei. He needs Lu Bu in order to cause some havoc here, right?
And that's the interesting thing. So Yuan Shu basically is like, now he's being the snake in Lu Bu's ear now.
Yeah, exactly.
And these two originally were not the best of friends.
Yeah, because remember, Lu Bu went to his place and Yuan Shu rejected him.
Yeah, and so basically now it's like he's telling him, okay, that Liu Bei guy, do me a favor, get rid of him.
Yeah, and he writes a letter to Lu Bu that differs a little bit depending on the historical record that you read, but the contexts are mostly the same regardless. This is actually the whole letters here. I can read the whole letter for you guys. This is what Yuan Shu tells Lu Bu in the letter. He says, quote, in the past, Dong Zhuo monopolized state power, harmed the imperial family, and murdered my family. I participated in the campaign against Dong Zhuo, but did not manage to kill him. You slew Dong Zhuo and sent me his head. In doing so, you helped me take revenge and salvage my reputation. This was the first favor you did for me. When Jin Yuanjiu was heading to Yan province to assume office, Cao Cao defeated and nearly drove him to the point of destruction. Later, you attacked Cao Cao in Yan province, that just happened, and helped me regain my reputation. This is the second favor you did for me. Throughout my life, I have never heard of the existence of Liu Bei, but he started a war with me. With your mighty spirit, you are capable of defeating Liu Bei, and this will be your third favor for me. With these three favors you do, I am willing to entrust matters of life and death to you, even though I may not be worthy. You have been fighting battles for a long time, and you lack food supplies. I hereby send you 200,000 of their currency of grain, and open my measurement of grain, and open my doors to you. If they are insufficient, I will continue to provide you a steady flow of supplies. If you need weapons and military equipment, just ask. End quote.
And essentially, basically, what Yuan Shu is saying in a nutshell to Lu Bu is, you scratched my back, now let me scratch yours.
And he's completely being sleazy about it.
Yeah,
see what he's saying? He's telling him what you need. You need this. Let me give you this. How does he know what Lu Bu needs?
He's pushing really hard. He's pushing this narrative of, hey, get Liu Bei, backstab him, whatever. He's pushing that narrative really hard.
Even with the way he said, I've never heard of the existence of Liu Bei, and now he's at war with me.
And it's interesting. It's like, oh, you never heard the existence, but here you are telling me to take him out.
Yeah, you want me to take him out so badly.
How do you even know he's even there? How do you even know he exists?
The thing is, Lu Bu doesn't even rationalize this. He doesn't even think about that.
Lu Bu just sees like a big payout.
Yeah.
That's all Lu Bu sees. He sees like a big payday, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll do it.
And again, Lu Bu accepts and believes whatever people tell him. He sees an opportunity to gain something out of it. He believes Yuan Shu and heads to the city of Jiapi, which is the most important place for Lu Bu in his entire history, which is already in a state of panic and chaos. So, Lu Bu starts attacking. He starts causing some chaos, further chaos in the province itself. Upon arrival to Jiapi, they open the gates for him, actually. Lu Bu's battles, he battles against one of the fiercest warriors in China at the time, Zhang Fei, who I don't know if he was the actual sworn brother of Liu Bei. Was that real?
That I think was romanticized.
Okay, because in popular media, the three brothers are Liu Bei, Zhang Fei, who Lu Bu just defeated here, and Guan Yu.
And just so everybody knows, in this whole entire period of the Three Kingdoms era, basically, the most romanticized figure was Guan Yu.
Yeah, Guan Yu.
Then I would say possibly Lu Bu right after.
Exactly, yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised Guan Yu's not even mentioned in the records.
Yeah, once you get to the real thing about this whole Lu Bu thing,
With Lu Bu, yeah.
Guan Yu's almost never mentioned.
Exactly, yep. So he defeats Zhang Fei, which is a great feat, further showing how great of a warrior Lu Bu is. He captures Liu Bei's family, and Lu Bu stands above the gate to look over the city for a moment. And upon seeing the city, he decides right from there with no hesitation, burn it all down. Let's burn the city down. Let's cause chaos. Let's do what Yuan Shu is telling me to do, right? No remorse at all. He orders his men to burn the city down. Liu Bei hears about the takeover of Jiapi, but he can't head back there because Yuan Shu is advancing upon the territory. So Liu Bei suffers a defeat to Yuan Shu and retreats to find a way out of this. He has to think, how can I do something here? Yuan Shu is right here at the border. Lu Bu's inside the province. He's at Jiapi, causing chaos. If I go back, I gotta run to Lu Bu, and I might get sandwiched by Yuan Shu. So what do I really do here? Well, he doesn't have much time to think because his food supplies run out, and he starts starving. He has to do something like drastically. He returns and actually surrenders to Lu Bu. He doesn't even put up a fight. He goes to Lu Bu, he goes to Jiapi, whatever, and surrenders himself.
Yeah, he got put in a really tight spot.
Really bad spot. And it's crazy that Liu Bei makes his way out of all of this at the end. Out of impatience that Yuan Shu has not delivered his promised supplies to him from the letter, Lu was wondering, where are the supplies, man? Where is the grain? Where is everything you're promising me? He actually does not kill Liu Bei, which is something you would expect Lu Bu to do. He would kill his captives. Instead, he welcomes Liu Bei, the guy that Yuan Shu hates. He accepts Liu Bei into his ranks to guard Jiapi, and I think he gives him the title as Inspector.
Yep, Inspector, yep.
He proclaims himself the governor of Zhou province now. So he proclaimed himself the governor of Yan province, which was Cao Cao's, and now he proclaims himself the governor of Zhou province, which is the neighboring one.
Yeah, now he's just running around taking whatever he can. And the interesting thing here, Yuan Shu is playing he's pulling the strings behind many things right now.
Yep.
And what he's doing is basically he's trying to get all of these guys to work for him.
Yeah.
Gain all this territory and wealth for me. And on the other hand, while this whole thing with Lu Bu and Liu Bei is going on, Sun Ce, the son of Sun Jian, he's conquering. Sun Ce is actually more capable than Sun Jian was on the battlefield.
Which is crazy, yeah.
So Sun Ce is conquering in the southern territories of China called Jiangdong, which is basically the home of the Sun family.
Yeah.
So what happens is, as he's conquering in these areas on Yuan Shu's behalf, Yuan Shu basically goes and says, okay, I got everything going smooth for me right now. Mm-hmm. I got Lu Bu taking care of business for me over by Liu Bei, and I got Sun Ce taking care of business in Jiangdong. Yuan Shu is actually becoming very powerful at this point.
Yeah.
What Yuan Shu ends up doing now is he says, okay, since it's very clear now, he believes to himself, I'm gonna take everything over. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna win. He basically creates the Zhong dynasty. This is where he made his mistake. You don't ever create your own dynasty during a pre-existing dynasty.
Yeah.
The Han was still, even though it was basically dead, it still existed for whatever little power it had left. When you do that, you create yourself an enemy to the Han. And this is where the emperor said he is a heathen. He is going against the Han authority. And basically, this is where all the tables turn on Yuan Shu, and everybody goes against him. Sun Ce stopped supporting him, and even Lu Bu stopped supporting him because the Han emperor spoke.
Exactly, which is a very strange thing. You would never think Lu Bu would even care about what the emperor would say.
So now Yuan Shu is like, whoa, I got all this. I had all this support in the beginning. I'm gonna win. He really believes he's gonna win.
He also had the imperial seal.
He had the imperial seal.
Because Sun Jian got it, and he gave it to Yuan Shu, who was his leader.
Yep, and then once he obtained it, he truly felt like I'm gonna be the leader of the entire Han.
Yeah,
and then he made the mistake of going against the Han emperor.
Isn't that funny? Because Sun Jian, he stopped the food supplies of Sun Jian because he thought Sun Jian would do this.
Yeah.
But he's the one that did this.
Now here he is. He's the one pulling all these. He's the puppet master pulling all these strings.
Isn't that funny?
He's playing Lu Bu's. He's playing to Lu Bu's weakness. He's playing to Sun Ce's weakness. And next thing you know, all of these guys break ties with him because the Han Emperor spoke and said, you know what? He's a heathen. And then they said, we can't go against the Han Emperor. These Lu Bu and Sun Ce were like, okay, That's basically the whole campaign against Yuan Shu, and he ends up getting just wrecked in that whole campaign.
Yeah, he loses to he fights with Cao Cao, he fights with Liu Bei, he fights with Lu Bu, and they all just absolutely decimate him. He actually at one point tried to get Lu Bu on his side.
Yeah, he did.
Which was funny. And Lu Bu actually considered it. Crazy with this guy.
This is what desperation does, though.
Yeah.
Your former enemies.
Yeah.
There's a saying. There's an old saying that goes, "There's no such thing as permanent friends and enemies, only permanent interests." And Yuan Shao is the symbol of that.
Exactly. And also Yuan Shu believed
Yuan Shu.
Yuan Shu, yeah. And also Yuan Shu believed that he was the true emperor the whole time because his name is Shu. Yep. And he believed that's like some royal thing. He had the imperial seal, given to him by Sun Jian and stuff. It was a whole crazy, like, divine ordeal with this guy. And he tried to get Lu Bu with him. This is how he attempted this. He sent a messenger to Lu Bu, and he told him, "My son will marry your daughter. We'll tie our families together." Lu Bu's like, "Oh, okay, let's do it." As gullible Lu Bu always is.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do it. And then one of Lu Bu's men, his subordinates, actually convinces Lu Bu to go against it. But at this point, Yuan Shu's guy that was supposed to escort Lu Bu's daughter to him is already there at Lu Bu, right? So Lu Bu's subordinate convinces him not to do it, and Lu Bu listens to him. He's like, "Oh, okay, I shouldn't do it now." He actually captures that Yuan Shu guy, one of his guys, captures him and kills him, right? Executes him, which is a very crazy thing just to do to a messenger.
Yeah, that's
right. But that's what he does. That's Lu Bu fashion.
And again, just like we mentioned, Lu Bu, just so everybody knows, Lu Bu is a meathead. Yeah. I mean, this guy, if you could sell him anything, basically, you could tell this guy he never saw the trick or the play behind any strategy. Somebody told him, "Hey, this will happen. We'll give you this if you do this for us." And they were tricking him. And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." Yeah, it's like he was a meathead. He was a pure meathead.
Complete meathead. He was not fit to be a leader at anything.
No.
He was a very good muscle. He was a very good warrior to use, a bodyguard. But he wanted more. He wanted to become something he just wasn't. He wasn't born to do.
All brawn, no brain.
Exactly. And it's pretty funny with Lu Bu. Before the end to Lu Bu, which we'll get to, he suffered one betrayal by this guy named Hao Meng, right? It was one of his officers.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy. Lu Bu only had one betrayal at this time, before the ending where everybody betrayed him. So the officer Hao Meng attacked the capital when Lu Bu was with his wife and unequipped. Right, he wasn't ready to fight or anything, and there's already a battle happening at the capital. Lu Bu fled with his wife to another officer's camp. Gao Shun, his name is, one of his better officers, and relied on his other guys to deal with this rebel. Gao Shun easily scared Hao Meng away with a rain of arrows. Right, so he started shooting arrows. Hao Meng's like, "All right, I'm out of here. I'm not ready for that." Which is crazy how easily he just scared him away.
Yeah, easily just rushed him out of there.
And Hao Meng then tempted Cao Jing. So Cao Jing's another officer under Lu Bu. He tries to get him to join him, right? But Cao Jing stayed loyal to Lu Bu and fought Hao Meng right there. So instead of negotiating, he's like, "Nope, lift your sword. We're fighting right now." Cao Jing got stabbed, but he severed Hao Meng's arm, and then Gao Shun swiftly approaches and decapitates the rebel.
Yep.
So it's also showing that Lu Bu's guys are pretty good at fighting as well. But just no one's there to really lead. That's the only issue here.
Yeah, they don't have a good leader.
Exactly. And Liu Bei's still under Lu Bu at this point.
Yeah, I would say it's more of like hostage.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to be there. And there was that story, remember, where he shot the arrow. So Liu Bei and this guy named Jing Ling, right? Jing Ling, I think, was a guy, an officer or a general under Yuan Shu. Well, him and Liu Bei were having conflicts with each other. Lu Bu camped out southwest from the capital and invited Jing Ling to join him for a feast. But then Jing Ling actually invites Lu Bu to his feast, right? So he wanted to come to him. Lu Bu accepts and arrives with Liu Bei. He made sure to bring Liu Bei with him. This is a very interesting side of Lu Bu. He brought Liu Bei so he can help solve the issue between them two. Lu Bu offered a deal with Jing Ling. He said, quote, "Liu Bei is my younger brother. I heard that he was trapped by you gentlemen, so I came here to help him. I don't enjoy getting into conflicts, but I enjoy helping others resolve conflicts." End quote. That's a lie.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Maybe for this, maybe at this situation here, it's not a lie, but he definitely loves conflicts. So what Lu Bu does is he has like a spear, I think, or some kind of weapon with a blade. he has it up against a gate of the camp that they're at, and he tells them, quote, "Gentlemen, watch me fire an arrow at the lower part of the curved blade on that G," which is like a spear or a halberd. "If I hit it in one shot, all of you withdraw your forces and leave. If I don't hit it, you can remain here and prepare yourselves for battle." End quote. He fired and hit, he fired the arrow and he hit the blade exactly where he said he was going to hit it. And it halted all the conflict, right? Nobody fought anymore, which is a very funny thing.
The interesting thing about that, just so everybody gets a better picture of what kind of halberd he was shooting at. Now, the halberds during the Han Dynasty, they were about 7 feet long, 7 to 8 feet long.
Yeah.
And it had 3 points, 3 different blades on it. You had a top blade that went up. So imagine you're holding the halberd in front of you. Mm-hmm. And there was a top blade that went straight up, and that was about 1 foot long. And then there was a blade that went out to the left, and that was about 1 foot long. And then there was this tiny little piece of, I'm not kidding you, it must have been maybe 2 to 3 inches, no more than that stuck out on the right side. That's the side that Lu Bu hit, was that tiny little piece. So it's basically saying, he's basically saying, I'm the best archer here. I'll end this conflict.
Yeah.
He's basically almost flexing in a way too.
And it's kind of funny because they're just waiting to see him shoot it. And they're like, oh shoot, is he gonna hit it? He hits it, and they're like, all right, we're not gonna fight each other anymore.
Yeah, he basically said, if I hit that, you guys stop fighting. If I miss, kill each other.
And it's funny because they continued to party, and then they all just left. They went home. And remember, these guys were all just waiting to kill each other. Like they were just about, like, Liu Bei and Ji Ling were ready to kill each other.
Yeah, they were ready to go to battle.
And because of this performance from Lu Bu, it all ended. At that moment, Lu Bu actually wasn't trying to create conflict, which is very weird.
Very out of character. Yeah.
Completely out of character. And, usually wherever he goes, he's ready to cause havoc and chaos. And
yeah, for sure.
At this point, he actually used his head and succeeded in doing so. And then after that, he tries to get into peace with Cao Cao.
Yeah.
Right? He writes him a letter, a very long letter. He's kind of praising Cao Cao, getting into his on his good side and, playing into his ego a bit. And at this point, like, even the Han Imperial Court, which is still around, they appoint Lu Bu as general of the left instead of, one of the records say that he was the general who pacifies the East. And this gets really close to the end of Lu Bu, right? So he's trying to get in good graces with these other guys. The whole war happens with Yuan Shu. Mm-hmm. And then he gets into conflict with this other general. His name is Zheng Ba.
Yep.
And this leads into the Battle of Jia Pi. So Jia Pi is the end of Lu Bu, right? This is where it all ends for him.
Yeah, this is the end of him.
And it's like, it's not. Is it one battle? Because I'm pretty sure it's like different kind of like.
Yeah, there's like
skirmishes.
I believe it's like 3 or 4 skirmishes, and then the final battles against Cao Cao.
Yes, and Lu Bu was using some of his best generals and officers like Gao Shun, like Zheng Liao. He was attacking Liu Bei. So what happened here? So Liu Bei and Cao Cao were together.
Yeah, there was an alliance, and that alliance was formed obviously because of Lu Bu.
Yeah.
So basically, Cao Cao had sent in one of the early skirmishes. He had sent his right hand man Xiahou Dun to go fight against Gao Shun. Xiahou Dun failed. He lost against Gao Shun. So then basically now that put Cao Cao in a position like, okay, this guy, he beat my right hand man now. He's a serious threat at this point. And then they skirmish. They do a few more skirmishes after that. They weren't really that important, the next skirmishes, but it basically shows that Cao Cao needs to go all in on this.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, towards the last skirmish, Cao Cao basically says, okay, I'm sending everything I got there. Cao Cao goes to attack, and Liu Bei is, of course, allied with him during this time.
Yeah.
With Liu Bei's alliance, basically, he goes full force against Lu Bu at Jia Pi. Yeah. This is in 198, late 198.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's wintertime.
It's wintertime. So conditions are very hard, obviously, like we've mentioned in past episodes. It's very hard to fight in winter. So he basically fights against Lu Bu at Jia Pi, and Lu Bu now is struck with this like problem. Okay, now what do I do now? Cao Cao's a great lord. I probably should just retreat. Or should I just fight back? And his advisors basically tell him, no, fight back. Because Cao Cao will not be so forgiving of this and that. And so, okay, he says, all right. So basically he makes camp outside of Jia Pi.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, Cao Cao, after 3 months of a siege, which is a long time, actually.
Very long siege.
Because you have to constantly keep feeding the men. And it's very hard to do. So after 3 months of a hard, long siege, he basically says, Cao Cao says, I don't know, maybe I should just let this whole siege go. Mm-hmm. And his advisors tell him, no, keep pressing forward. Cao Cao says, okay, fine. So Cao Cao presses forward, eventually breaks through. Lu Bu's guys eventually lose. But Lu Bu and his more of his closer men end up on the White Gate Tower, I believe they called it.
Yes, White Gate Tower. Yeah.
It was called the White Gate Tower, and that's where he goes to surrender up there, to run away from Cao Cao up there. But as he makes it up there, Cao Cao and his army surround the whole tower, and Lu Bu stuck. He can't go nowhere.
Yeah, he actually surrenders right there.
And then they tie him up.
Yeah. And actually, pretty interesting about that battle. There was a point where Lu Bu attached his daughter to him, like actually physically attached him, like by rope and stuff, and was broke through the siege or the enemy with her tied to him, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the reason why he did that was because he still was hoping Yuan Shu would want his son to marry her.
He was still, and that's the interesting thing. Yuan Shu had promised during this battle against Cao Cao. He promised Lu Bu. Lu Bu's like, "Hey, Yuan Shu, after how many times of betraying him?"
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, Yuan Shu, I need help. Send some guys over."
Yeah.
Yuan Shu's like, "Okay, no problem." These guys never come.
No, never.
They never arrive. Yuan Shu, it must have just been an empty promise. So
Yeah.
obviously, with that happening, this is why he got captured. He had no reinforcements. He, for one, is a terrible leader.
Yeah.
And once he gets captured, he gets tied up.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, now he's tied up with his top advisors, and he says to Cao Cao, he's in front of Cao Cao, basically on his knees, tied up. He says, "Loosen these ropes; they're too tight." And then Cao Cao, Lu Bu's trying to, again, like he always used to do. Lu Bu's trying to buy his way into life. Basically, he's trying to buy his own life back.
Mm-hmm.
What happens then? Cao Cao starts thinking about it. Lu Bu tells him, "I could be a powerful asset to your side if you use me." Cao Cao's thinking, Cao Cao's having second thoughts. Cao Cao's like,
maybe I could use him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a powerful warrior. He would prove to be a very good asset in my army. Liu Bei comes and he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Like, you know this guy is a monster. This guy is pure evil. He's a monster. You cannot
trust him.
You can't trust this guy." And then Lu Bu lashes out. Now, Lu Bu proving Liu Bei right.
Yeah.
Lashes out. He says, "You untrustworthy rat, you this, you're that," basically cussing him out.
Yeah, his exact words at the time was what did he say to Liu Bei?
Basically, you're untrustworthy. Basically, he says, "How can you?" Basically, trying to tell Cao Cao, "How can you trust Liu Bei?" He's trying to frame Liu Bei for being untrustworthy by trying to defend his own right to live, and this doesn't work for Lu Bu.
Yes, yep, exactly, yep. Yeah, he was calling like untrustworthy. You're a rat. You're all this stuff. And that's it does prove Liu Bei's point.
Yeah, and Liu Bei, the moment Lu Bu lashed out and got angry and yelled and screamed, Liu Bei was right. Regardless of whether if he wasn't or was right, he was right now because Lu Bu proved it.
Exactly, and they executed him.
And they strangled him. They hung him.
That's crazy by hanging, which is maybe not even the way that Lu Bu wanted to go out at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's a very rough way to go out.
And so that's the end of the episode, guys. We're gonna go right into Patreon and talk for a bit about this whole thing and like whatever comes to mind. So if you guys want to check out the rest of the podcast, make sure to go to the Patreon, which I'm gonna leave a link below, and I'll see you guys there.